Joey, I loved what you said about wanting to follow this guy, forever and ever on his road, because that means we translated for you what it feels like to be in India. I think
Mm,
that is the feeling Teddy and I get from traveling. There is just, we could go on forever. There's so much to see, there's so much to explore, there's so much to look at. It's so
mm,
interesting.
Yeah, that was sort of the genesis of the project was we were going to India uh, f- pretty regularly, shooting commercial projects there, and we had corporate jobs at the time. We were in-house creative for a Bollywood media company,
mm,
and so we were going there regularly, and we would shoot these commercial projects that would not capture what we were really seeing when we were there, because it's just not, that's just like commercials here. That's just not generally what you do.
mhm.
But we were falling in love with like I don't know if you call it street culture, but just the energy of the streets in Bombay, and and kind of would just be like, we vowed someday to do something there. We didn't know what exactly.
Mm.
And eventually, when we left that company and started our own thing, Sneha and Teddy, um, and I say this just because this, to give you an idea of the, I would say like what would you say, like where our heads were at when we came up with the story. We had all these miles from the previous job, and we panic bought 2 round trip tickets to India to finally do this thing. And we didn't know what the thing was yet. But it's good for us because we're used to being in house and having deadlines. Like that is what motivates us. So we had this, and right off the bat, there were like certain things we knew were going to be part of this story. Number one, we were going to have like run and gun stuff on the streets. We just knew that was like the thing that we were in love with doing. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think when you don't have a big budget as filmmakers for production design and big sets and all of that, like something that you can do is have like a really interesting costume that takes up a big part of the screen, and a really interesting sort of just the going to beautiful or interesting looking places.
Yeah.
And that kind of does your production design for you, right? It gives you something to play with visually that's really interesting, and on a low budget. That would be my tip for other independent filmmakers is like, what can you wear? Like, where can you go? Because you're not going to build a set. That's just not going to be in the cards.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a side note. And Snaz told me to keep my answers shorter because I do have a propensity to ramble. Um,
Well,
Snaz, where am I going with this?
So
Well, the
we're in
other
good
thing
we're
was
in
like
good
music.
company here, Joey.
yeah, I don't I think my husband basically says that he tells me all the time, he's like, you have undiagnosed ADD and my brain is sort of like scrambled eggs. It just goes wherever it wants. So yeah, we'll get along just fine. I did want to say about the costume. I love how that costume gets a reaction from everybody. Like everyone, like quite almost quite literally is like, "What are you wearing?" Like they sort of go up and down. And also, when I went back and watched it a second time, I even feel like that shade of red isn't purposely anywhere else in the movie. It's probably in the background somewhere, but I mean, like it felt so singular to me, and it felt so I don't know. It just felt like so unique to this guy's presence. Love the hat over his. I don't know. There's so much about that color red and that costume that I love. Um,
Thank you. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
it was definitely very intentional to have that, to kind of create an iconic look, and we brought that outfit or costume. We found it here, brought it to India, and India has the just best tailors. So
mm,
we got it very quickly tailored for Shashank, the main character and main actor, and had them kind of keep that 70s flair to the pants.
yeah,
because like Stan and I both are really into 70s Bollywood, just 70s stuff in general. We like that vibe. That's kind of what we were going for. So I'm glad it worked for you. I'm certainly happy with how that aspect of the film came out.
I'm a big costumes nerd. I was a theater kid, so I was always really into like how the costume affects character and movement. And I feel like that really, I don't know. I feel like if I was wearing that, I'm too short to pull it off, I will admit. But I mean, like, I probably feel like that would give me a little bit more oomph that I feel like the character carries around with him. Um, so you just mentioned 70s Bollywood. I guess what can you both tell me just appreciation wise about what you like about 70s Bollywood, or maybe what you can tell us that maybe if we want to go hunting for 70s Bollywood, like what is something that you both love about it?
So I think the quintessential 70s Bollywood film, bar none, is Sholay. And
Okay.
anyone you ask who knows will tell you you must see Sholay. It's a landmark film in Bollywood cinema. It's also the first Bollywood movie I shared with Teddy when we
Mm.
were just becoming friends, 30 plus years ago. Um, and when you're an adolescent, you share things with your friends. You want your friends to like everything that you
Yeah.
like. And I remember being so happy that Teddy he really saw the film for what it was, and he was cool with who I was and what I liked. And I think Sholay was the beginning of this Bollywood journey, that is about really the two of us as Snetty. The list
And
goes
what's
on.
what's also interesting about that movie is that it's a Bollywood Western. So
Cool.
it's kind of interesting too that it's like very full circle.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, there's just a sort of vibe, like you're talking about being in this world, this vibe, and really being immersed in a world. I feel like, first of all, Bombay has its own energy. I say that it makes New York feel like a quaint fishing village. It's everything is relative. You every time I come back from India and I'm in New York, I'm like, oh, what a nice, cute little place. And then, of course, I live in suburban New Jersey, and I go to New York now, and I'm like, my God, there's so many people.
Yeah.
So every place has its energy um, and vibe. But I would say, like with 70s Bollywood too, like there's even just with the music, there's a tonality, and it's like, I like listening to stuff on vinyl. Like
Mhm.
it just they use certain reverbs, they use certain sounds that just feel like, I don't know, the opposite of what we're like the high fidelity that we have today and just kind of take for granted. Um, so I mean, even like the vocals in the beginning of the movie, that da 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 da, like that's me singing, and I
Oh, okay.
was like I am the female voice in the beginning, and obviously pitched and heavily processed, but I was trying to capture a 70s vocal sound that you'll hear um, in Bollywood films that I couldn't like. I think probably we could have found someone to do it, but we certainly couldn't afford for them to do it. So I did it. And then I treated it in the
Right.
same way you might treat those vocals back then, with like a plate reverb or a slapback reverb or these kinds of things that you would hear that kind of just stick out and give it this very identifiable sound. And for me, nostalgic, because like Sneha said, it's from my childhood from meeting Sneha.
Hmm. I've seen I need to watch more Bollywood films, but I feel like, being a theater kid, I mean, there's so much there for me just to appreciate just in terms of color and music. I mean,
And theatricality.
and theatricality, like
It gets so big and it's so unironic, which I love because so much of our pop culture is like too cool for school and kind of cynical. And
mhm.
I was certainly like that in high school. I was in a rock band and I was very cool. Or, in my mind, of course, I look back and I'm like, dear God. But Bollywood is just like it's very itself. It doesn't shy away from big feelings, and I
Yeah.
think for me, as someone who had big feelings and maybe was afraid to show them, I'd watch Bollywood and I'd be like, "Wow, that's so awesome," you know?
Mm. Yeah, there's like a purity in the bigness of the emotions that I probably really tap into that I really like watching whenever I see something. Um, I have to say something that I love that is used a couple of times through the film. This is just speaking to capturing the city or the environment is that there are a couple of shots. I think there's one at the beginning and one towards the end where the camera is really high up and we see him like walking down the street. I'm like really in love with those shots for some reason. I can't really articulate why, but that's something like visually that I really really love.
Dude, thank you. I am too. Like those two shots are my favorite shots of the movie, and they were very early on. Uh, a discussion I had with our cinematographer Darren Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's shot. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Please
Oh
continue.
no, I'm done. Keep going.
No, I just so we shot anamorphic, very wide. I mean, it was intentional to try to capture that Western panoramic thing, but
Yeah,
of course, we don't have the open prairie. We have like a bustling city, so what it's capturing is kind of different. Um, but it was an opportunity to kind of really take in everything. I think being high up and shooting kind of down. Um, there are all of these sort of because like crosswalks can be an interesting thing to contend with on in Bombay. Like
all right.
you have these overpasses, pedestrian overpasses, which also are featured in the movie. They have the either fluorescent or sodium vapor lighting that gives off that greenish tinge, which is really nice, I think, with the right costume. But anyways, shooting that, first of all, you this is guerrilla style, so we can't control what happens. We're just gonna
Yeah,
take it in, right? And so you see those reactions. He has a standoff with the car, and Shashank waves it forward, and he's still in character
yeah,
as the cowboy, or tipping his hat to the old man in the other shot right before the music shop. And the old man kind of just, looks at him as he goes by. Very authentic moments, I feel like. And adding a slow zoom on it, I think you don't see a lot of zooms now. We added that digitally, but it was to capture that 70s thing as well. There's something nostalgic. There's something I think you're right. It's not very tangible. I don't know why I love those two shots as well, but it was so important to get them for whatever reason.
I mean, I think it really captures the kind of him, movement of him going, existing in this space. I think there's something about like really we get the indication that this is a huge city, a huge place that where he is. That's I think what I responded to with it. I think it shows him moving around, especially in this, as he may get more desperate to find what he needs. I think that's a really great way of plunking him down and showing us him exploring around to see what he can do. Um, I
Yeah,
want to
totally.
Yeah, I want to ask about the scene where he gets to sing at the microphone. I want to know what you both can tell me about like how that exists on the page and before it kind of like gets up on its feet. Or maybe you can tell me what it was like to film that scene. I like how the camera revolves around. I like the like when he starts playing the percussion on the floor. I have like a dorky like I was like ooh like we're all getting into it. I was really excited for that. I guess I kind of wanted to know what that kind of looks like in the script versus sort of establishing it visually on its feet.
Yeah, Sned, do you want to start this one off or?
Yeah, I think, in the script it just doesn't come to life in the script. Teddy's a
Mm-hmm.
musician, and I'm going to let him speak about that in more detail, but
Okay.
he always had this vision that it was going to be this song, right?
Mm,
And I think that in the way Bollywood music is arranged, you often have instruments coming in featuring the way that you mentioned with the drums, and it is really exciting and lilting and
mm-hmm.
makes you want to get up and get involved a bit. Um, and so it is written on the page that there's going to be a choreography between the camera, the
Okay.
actors, the musicians, the audio. But actually making that happen, that belongs to the director, it belongs to Teddy.
So it's yeah, I could say a lot about this. First of all, it's the first scene we shot.
Okay.
So because of scheduling, and it was a weird place to start, like for all of us, I think, because we just didn't have time to build. It's the climax, basically, or at least the largest emotional moment of the film, and we started
Mm,
with it. I'm happy with how it came out, but it was an interesting way to start.
mm,
Um, it was always important, like when we're talking pre-production, it was very important to cast real musicians. So everyone in that scene, from Shashank to the studio musicians, are all musicians. Those guys are not actors. Shashank
okay.
is a great actor and also a musician. Those guys are world class musicians who, you know, they gave us some acting in it too, but they
Hmm.
were really performing, and we really recorded that song. That was the first thing we did, was record it and then repeat it, for multiple takes. And what's interesting is, like, even for Shashank, who's quite good in post, we kind of like screwed with his timing to
Okay.
make him worse at the beginning, because the idea in the script is to have it start as very insecure and uncertain and kind of build up over time until you have this kind of really uh big emotional breakthrough kind of moment for him. And it's hard. It's almost like a good musician trying to sound crappy. Like, we just had to make him crappier than he really was at the
Yeah.
beginning. And if you rewatch it, like, the timing is kind of off. It makes me cringe a little, and that's intentional.
Mm,
But the idea, our approach, I was like, we are going to do a oneer, because that is every
mm,
director's like wet dream. We're going to do this ambitious thing, and just cut to the chase, like, fell on our faces hard. We got the timing right. We got everything right. Everything was choreographed beautifully. And then sit down and the edit to this completely sterile performance. Like, everything, the camera is just where it needs to be as someone enters. So the spontaneity of the moment was gone. It wasn't
mm,
like you'd watch it and nothing was wrong, but it also just didn't have the vibe of the moment. Right? Like, as a musician, there is an energy in a room when you're having a live performance, and it's not easily captured, but what we did capture in earlier takes was really there was an excitement and a
mm,
feeling in the room. And after you've done the same song 20 times, you've like beaten it out of everybody, basically.
mm.
So, big thanks to the editor who came in, because to me it was like, this is something I really wanted, but I couldn't let go of it. I wanted this
Mm.
oneer, and it was just like not working. So I brought in my friend Ben Levitt, great editor, great filmmaker, and a total assassin. He just came in. He's like, "This is better as a shot sequence. Chop, chop, chop." He like threw it at me, and I'm like, "Oh my god! Of course, it's so much better now." And some of the flubs and mess ups earlier in the takes, like, they work better because it feels real.
I actually think, I mean, it reads to me, it's a very invigorating, spontaneous moment. I completely understand how, like, doing something, take after take after take has to be, you want to sustain that energy. You want to sustain that feeling of them first coming into the room. And that's one of my favorite moments of the whole thing, because it's so, I don't know, the sort of like layering that you were mentioning. It was just like the way that the music kind of builds on each other. It's very exciting. I was really down to play with that sequence as an audience member. Just that's just how I
Oh,
felt.
we
Yeah,
love hearing that, that it really
Yeah,
built up to a climax for you because it is supposed to be this cathartic
yeah.
moment at the end of it. And I think it also just speaks to what the process of filmmaking is sometimes you have to recognize that your original idea wasn't great, but everything else you thought about was wonderful, and like the musician's energy was there, Shashank's energy was there. It's just not going to be the shot that you thought it was. It's
Yeah,
something different that comes together in the edit
Mm,
instead of what you scheduled, you know?
totally. And just to be able to be honest with yourself and see it for what it is. What was happening in the room was great. Our job was to document it, not
mm,
to in some ways apply my own. Every time it's like you try to force your own thing on it, it doesn't always work. You're like, you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for the moment. I think we had it there. We captured everything we needed. And just being honest about what we had actually captured was the breakthrough we needed to make that scene really work.
mm.
But the plan was always, to have that layering. I wrote the arrangement in the great state of New Jersey and brought that recording uh, to the musicians. We had a great jam session. They didn't speak much English, or so but we jammed. They had never
Mm.
heard of Johnny Cash. They had never heard this song. So they could really bring their own thing to it, and I could lead them a little bit towards what I was going for. But I love what they brought to it, and they got it immediately.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, like that's it. I mean, that moment really kind of speaks to that that, this may sound cheesy, but like that artistic collaboration and like hearing you guys talk about that, there's like one kind of collaboration that's happening on screen and the collaboration that you have with the editor. I mean, it's a really sort of, they're obviously very different things, but I mean, it's like I've never heard that song in that way before. And I think that got me just so excited in terms of taking a piece of music that most everyone is familiar with, and I think I was just so thrilled to hear it in a completely new way. Like I'm a giant nerd when it comes to like music and score and things like that, so I think I was just really geeking out over the kind of, what's the right word, like almost like, not relitigation, that's a bad word, but it's sort of like the hearing a song so completely fresh and new. I thought that was really rad. I love that. um Before I let you two go, I have to say I love the whole energy of the film, like I've been saying, but those final like 2 minutes are so pure and beautiful. Like the thing that I wrote down here on my notes, like something, the wad of cash being left on the table, the way that the credits start rolling as he's playing with his child at the very end. What I wrote down was, it's all worth it. And in the end, that's not really a question. That's really just like a note that I had. And I love how the film ends, where we don't know if he's going to get another guitar. We don't know what's going to happen. He's dealing with all these negotiations the whole film. But then when he's alone with his family at the end, I just felt so warm and so like satisfied in a way that I wasn't expecting when I think about the sort of feverish pace that the movie is doing before. So it's not really a question. I just wanted to tell you that. That's all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Um, thank you both so much for your time. Thank you for letting me just ramble at you so much.
Likewise.
Right back at you.
Good. We're all in this together. So hope you both have a good end to your Tribeca journey. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Dude, this
Thank
was
you,
such a
Greg.
great start of our day. So thank
Okay.
you very
Of
much.
course.
This was a great conversation.
All right. See ya. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Bye.